Okay, hi everyone. This is Aniket here. Thanks for joining today's session. And in the session today, we will be focusing on how to prepare for the international speech contest, what all things you should do, what are the things that you should take care of, and a few more basic hygiene that you can think about. I will be sharing my screen. I have a small PPT for all of you. Um, can you guys see my screen? Hello. Ashirwad, can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, great.
Yes, I can see.
Thank you. All right, so Bhavna and Ashirwad are also aspiring Toastmasters. Both of them are really good speakers. So Sakshi, you might be wondering who are they and how are they on the call. So Sakshi, I also have a group for all of my mentees where I shared this link so that most of the people can be benefited by this.
Okay.
That we are doing. Okay, so now international speech contest. And Ashirwad, I think you had a question before we started. Can you ask the question again?
My question was whether the judging criteria in normal meeting, like in normal meeting, audience vote for it, whereas in contest, judges vote for it. Is there any pattern of different result?
Yes, there is. There is a reason that these judges are called from outside to judge your speech, and the reason is when you are doing an audience poll, the audience is very emotional. The audience is comprising of members, guests, both. Audience has people with varying levels of experience and depth of understanding of how to judge a speech, which means if you are doing really good drama on the stage, if you are you are an amazing storyteller, and the audience loves stories, so everyone will vote for you. However, a trained judge might be able to see that, okay, story was good, and all of that, the presentation was also good, but there is no message in the speech. There is no personal story in the speech. He just gave a speech about, let's say, Mahatma Gandhi. So as a story, it is good, but there's a big difference between a story and a speech, which is why the judges have voting ballot that they will be using to give you marks on how you delivered your speech. And today we will be covering these aspects of the speech contest as well. And rest of the folks that we have joined, I can see Brian has joined by his phone, but not joined by audio. I assume Bhavna, he is with you. So in that case, even if he doesn't join by phone, it's okay. But if you have any questions, feel free to interrupt at any point of time and I can take those questions. So let's begin. The format of the contest. The format is quite simple. You have many anonymous judges in the contest, depending on whether it is club level, area level, division level. The number of judges will change. At a club level, there will be 5 judges ideally, along with a along with a tiebreaker judge and the chief judge. At area level, there will be higher. Division level, even more number of people. And why do we have so many people? Because we want to get a general consensus of what is the best speech. Even within the judges as well, in the judges panel, they are also humans. They are also getting affected by different ways. But if there is a single contestant or a unique thing about a speech that impacted all of them together, that is one way to identify that, okay, if 5 educated, trained, and experienced judges feel that this speech is the best, that speech should be the winner. Which is why your speech is your main contestant in the speech contest. Now, coming to how do you write a speech for international speech contest? Every speech should have the hygiene, which is the opening, the body, the closure, most importantly, the message. And that message is really the differentiator between many speeches. As we go into the contest mode, all the speakers will come prepared. All of them would have their own stories and their speeches. Some of them will be good in, let's say, voice modulation. Someone is very good in writing humorous speech. But in the end, what are the judges looking for is the message. If your speech has a good message that you are sharing at the beginning, in the middle, and towards the end, I think that's a really basic way of preparing that speech, or looking at how to build that ISC speech. What it really needs are the personal stories from your life. Um, for example, what kind of story you tell, because when it comes to stories, there are stories where you can tell about your entire childhood in 3 minutes. I did this when I was in the first standard. When I went to fifth standard, I did this. When I went to college, I did that, and that's about it. That's one way of storytelling. Another way of storytelling is you take us in your class where you are sitting and you are writing something with your pencil. And as you are writing, your pencil broke. And as your pencil broke, you are thinking about something. And as you are thinking about all these things, what happened? Then what happened? Did something change? So all of these things are happening at that one instance. So you can zoom in on one specific incident that happened, or you can give a general perspective um, of an overall journey. And I think both of these are quite important, which is why if you look at the winning speeches of the International Speech Contest, you would see that many of these speakers have used both the techniques. When they want the audience to be really engaged deep into the story, they will zoom in on one specific incident and describe it to the fullest. Who were the characters? What was the condition? What did they think? What did they feel? What did they act upon? So thoughts, feelings, and actions are quite important while writing a speech. For example, you were trying to learn how to drive. Now, while you were learning, you would be thinking that, hey, I don't have to bang anyone, because if I dash into the next car, then my new car might be scratched. What are you thinking at the time? Then what are you feeling? Maybe you were feeling a lot of anxiety because you were driving, and you were feeling proud as well that, hey, finally I did it. I am here. I'm driving. And what were your actions? Were you frantically driving? Were you carefully driving? Were you slowly driving? Were you irritating your instructor while you're doing all this? That brings me to humor. If you can add humor to your speech in somehow, maybe towards the end, maybe towards the beginning, it'll be really good. Because the way human body works is, when we laugh, we are more relaxed. And when we are more relaxed, at that time, if you give a message, that message goes deeper into the audience. That message they will remember, which means if you want to deliver that message, I would recommend you to put in some humorous punches, and then immediately after that, share your message. Any questions so far?
No, Aniket, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now personal stories. It's easy to say that you should share your personal stories, but what kind of personal stories? Because you have stories from all kinds, which is why there should be a theme of your speech. You shouldn't talk like, let's say, you should decide one theme. Let's say your theme is not give up. Don't give up. No matter what happens, don't give up. So in that case, all of your stories should be driving that point. And that's the only way your theme will be recurring in your speech. Another point that I would like to give to all of you is, the real hero of the speech is not you. The real hero of the speech is the audience. Which means if your speech is about not giving up, you have to think, how is the audience going to perceive this? What are the things that they are giving up? Maybe some of them are giving up that opportunity to go to that additional training. Some of them are giving up that chance to give a speech in their club. Some of them are giving up on their opportunity to be better or fitter in their life. So when you include the audience, you need to get more of a you-centered question. For example, when you say, I have been giving up so many things in my life. I went to 9 times, I went to gym, but I left that gym every time. Have you ever been giving up on something? Have you ever given up on something or someone over and over again and throughout your life, and you can't get rid of it? And when you ask that question to the audience, that's like painting a picture. You need to give it some time to dry. Take a pause. Because when you ask that question, if it's a real question that you want them to think about, you must pause. Have you ever given up on something? My dear friends. So that pause adds a lot of value and depth in your delivery. In the end, what message do you deliver to your audience? That's also quite important. When it comes to the choosing a message, the message shouldn't be very difficult. For example, I attended a speech contest where the speaker literally gave us a formula. The speaker said, your learning is your objective learning minus your thoughts is your best learning. Now, I'm sure on paper that idea looked fantastic. But when you're delivering it to the audience, again, you need to think about the audience. Do they really have time to think through that equation and make sense of that profound point that you're trying to drive? No, they don't. Because remember, you are not the only speaker. There are 6 more speakers after you, which means your speech has not to be a burden on their conscience and on their time. Your speech must be something that they're relieved about. Here is another example that I would like to share with you. I attended another speech contest very recently where what happened is there were 6 speakers and 4 of them were really, and I mean really serious speeches, no humor at all. And there was one contestant who came in and she spoke about her grandmother. She spoke about how her grandmother used to tell her stories and her life in her village and her life in her childhood. And in the end, she delivered a very simple point that you should write your memories before you forget them. In this case, the point was very simple, and she told so many personal and connecting stories that everyone simply loved that speech. And as you can guess, she won the contest that day. So, my dear friends, when you choose that message for your speech, don't make it so complicated that your audience has to think twice about it. If you look at some of the winning speeches, let's say from Dhananjay Hetirachi, people will remember what he said. He said, I see something in you. I don't know what it is, but I see something in you. So that was his catchy line, his X factor, his sticky factor. So you need to add that sticky factor in your speeches as well. So that when people listen to your stories and they will say, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, Sakshi spoke about that. And yeah, I remember that. I don't remember her speech, but she said that one line that really, stuck with me. And they can say that, oh, there was that one guy called Indresh. He came in dressed like a Baba. I don't remember his speech, but Baba Indresha stuck with me. So what is that X factor that the audience is going to remember about your speech? What is your sticky factor? So you have to think about that. Now, this is all about how it should be done and what all things are the judges looking for, what all things work. These are the statistics. But as I know, Sakshi is a first timer. She is going to contest in the contest for the first time. So in that case, Sakshi, my advice to you would be, write the stories from your life. Write the speech with a point that you would like to deliver. If it is that one point, and the message should always be a single message. It shouldn't be like, okay, don't give up, keep trying, and always read books. 3 different messages. Audience is confused. They don't know what to do exactly. Tell them to either read books, tell them either not to give up or anything else. But one message. You can't have 2 or more than one message. Any questions so far?
None so far. No, none. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Yes,
I have a question, Aniket. So don't give up. So can we keep on repeating? Don't give up. Even the situation around you is worse. Don't give up. Even the other thing. Don't give up. So giving 3 different scenarios with the same message. Can we do that?
Yes, actually you can do that, but there's a difference between doing it and overdoing it. And the way
Hmm.
you can do that is always use the power of three. Okay, when life is giving you difficult times, don't give up. When you have many things to do but you don't have time, don't give up. When you want to go to office but you know that there is traffic waiting for you, don't give up. But I'll stop there. I gave them three situations, and for each of the situations, my message and my solution was the same. I used the power of three and I stopped there. Now, this can be used in the beginning, it can be used in the end as well. So, Ashirba, does that help you?
Yes, absolutely. I
Yes.
understood.
So, always differentiate between
Um,
doing it and over.
Aniket,
Yeah.
can I add something here?
Sure.
I just attended one of the contests in a club in Division E.
Mm-hmm.
And there were two contestants who were at par with each other.
Okay.
But one person kept on repeating the message, and it became like a rhetoric.
Yeah.
So it instead of giving that message, it was hitting the audience too many times. So as you said, 3 is the max that a person should repeat the message, unless it's
Anytime.
actually knitting into the story very well. But anything more than that might be a disaster.
True. That is always where you have to draw the line between overdoing it and doing it just right, which is why the power of three it can be used here. Uh, the power of three can also be used in three distinct ways, where I can tell you an entire story about me being stuck in traffic. I wanted to go to the meeting, but I did not give up. The next time it happened, I was doing something, I did not have something, but I didn't give up. Next time I did something, let's say I had to go to the airport, I was about to catch a flight, running out of time, but I didn't give up. So now I have repeated my message three times along with three examples, but it's all about me. What about the audience? So that's where you have a chance to connect with the audience. So you have to come up with scenarios, let's say three scenarios with you. I think that's a good formula which we came up with just now. In this session, three scenarios where the message was either displayed by you or it helped you to believe in the message. Also give them three scenarios where the audience can use this message or this technique that you're giving them, so that when they step out of that meeting, when they'll remember your speech, they will think, okay, yeah, Ashirwad said don't give up in this situation too. So when you give them exact scenarios where it can be applicable, it's easier to digest and it's less open to interpretation.
Uh, Aniket, I have a doubt.
Sure.
The three is, I understood, giving three different scenario with the same message.
Yeah.
But what if that message, to build up that particular message, you require almost 5 minutes to with your story, high and low point, and the conflict. So all these things put together, it will take 5 minutes in that format, which I heard Bhavna did it almost 5 minutes. She took to
Let's
build
not
up the
let's
story.
not let's not mention speeches that are
Yeah,
currently
yeah.
live in the
Okay,
contest. So, yeah.
okay. So in that scenario, I'm
Mhm.
just giving a reference, as you know what I
Correct.
mean.
No, all the references I gave were people who are not in the room or who wouldn't be impacted by anything that I'm about to reveal. So just be cautious about that. That's all I'm saying.
I'm
But
sorry
I
for
got
this.
your point. I
Yeah.
got your point. How to come up with a message that the audience will remember. Is that what your question is?
Yes. The question is, instead of three, if uh, one story itself take 5 minutes to build up that particular message to make
Mm-hmm.
it strong. So, is it advisable with go with a one story with all the high and low, or instead of three stories?
I would say it's totally up to you. If you can tell that one story with the minutest of the details and make sure that the audience loves that story, even that one story can be powerful. And this is another thing that you will observe in the existing ISC winning speeches as well. But if you feel that you have so many instances which relate to your message and all of them are really strong and you want to deliver all of them, I mean, at least three of them, So, you can choose that as well. In the end, it's the speaker's decision. It's in product management, there is something called as A/B testing, where let's say I'm designing a form and there's a download button. So if I keep this button on the right hand side, how many people click on it? If I keep this button on the left hand side, how many people click on it? So what I will do is when someone is reaching my website, I will send half of the people with a right button download and half of them with left button download, and see which one is coming out better. This is called as A/B testing in technical terms. In a speech contest terms, what you can do is you can deliver the same speech going well in depth for that one speech, deliver it in a couple of clubs, see how it pans out. You can deliver that same speech, however, use 3 stories instead of 1 and see how that pans out. This is, I'm saying, because if you have time, if your contest is tomorrow, then I think go with what you have. And another tip for you, Sakshi, is Sakshi and Brian, I should say, is that
Yeah.
before your contest, freeze your script at least a couple of hours before that, or at least, I mean, in the best case scenario, 24 hours prior to that, freeze your script. Don't make any changes and keep practicing it over and over again, so that when you deliver it on the stage, it comes out with a finesse.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So try and avoid making, you might be getting a lot of ideas. As we are getting nearer to the contest, the anxiety builds. And during the anxiety is when our minds work triple the times, which also means you will get 10 more ideas for that speech contest during the last 5 minutes. Even as you are getting up from the seat towards the stage, you will get more ideas. But that is where you have to be loyal to your script. Just be, deliver the script which is well, that has been reviewed by your mentor, because
Okay.
an idea that you got at the time might be looking good, but it might or may not pan out well. So at least for the first timers, I would say don't experiment. um, Write your script and stick to it. Okay, now the
Okay.
message that you choose should be memorable, it should sound well, it should have a good ring to it. Like, don't give up is simple. It can be it can be very easily forgotten as well. But if you see something like, I see something in you but I don't know what it is, now that was a twist, there was a twist in that message or in that catchy line, that, and people still remember that. So if possible, try to come up with that line. Enough on
Okay.
this slide. Let's go next. Know the ballot. Yeah, that's very, very, very important. Now we are going to take a look at how you will be judged by these judges in the audience. So let me just quickly stop sharing and okay. So as you can see, this is the International Speech Contest Judging Ballot. In this ballot, there are different sections. There is fair, there is good, very good, and excellent. And there are 3 different sections in this ballot. As you can see, there is content, which is 50 marks, there is delivery, which is 30 marks, and your language is 20 marks. So even if you have an MTI, even if you feel that your English may not be perfect, nothing to worry, you still have 80 marks to play with. Now your script is so important, because out of your 100 marks, 50 marks are for your script. And this script is your speech development, your opening, your body, your conclusion, supporting material. Your story is your supporting material. Then we talk about organization of your speech. Do you go in a linear manner, or did you go in a different manner, where you started in 2015, then we came to 2020, and we ended up back in 1985, where you were still in the school. So that's the structure of your speech: the opening, the body, and the conclusion, the quotes that you use, the similes, the triads. All of these things add to the structure of your speech. Then comes the effectiveness. the achievement of purpose, the interest, and the reception. So I think this is where the judge's interaction or judge's reaction to your speech would really matter. If they were receiving your speech really well, if they were laughing at your jokes, they were being hooked to each and every word that you're saying, you are going to get marks over here. This is why your stories have to be more deeper. They have to be interesting. Try and make them funny. Make them memorable. That's really the point. Speech value, which is ideas, logic, original thought. See, we have really emphasized on original thought here. Never give up is not an original thought because it has been spoken about at least 1,000 times before. And there is a higher probability that your judges may have also heard this in many different speeches. So what is your original thought? You can say that someone can say the same thing in 10 different ways. I can say that, hey, from today onwards, I'm going to start building brand Aniket. I can say the same thing by saying, today I'm going to start building my label and my label will be called XYZ. I would say, hey, today onwards, I'm going to make myself known to everyone. So I'm saying the same thing, but in 3 different ways. So that is really where your creativity comes out. Then comes your physical gestures, body language, and speaking area, which is where your stage usage comes into picture. And this is also where, ideally, if let me start my camera. Okay, so if this is your stage, okay, now here's another tip. Let's assume that this is your stage, okay, and we, audience, are reading from left to right. That means when you are as a speaker, for you should do it from the right to the left, so that for the audience it is left to right. I hope you got my point. Any questions there?
No, I didn't get it. Sorry.
Okay. So when we read something, we go from left to right, correct?
From left to right. Okay. Yeah.
But when you are on the stage and you are reversed, you are facing the audience. If you do left to right, what will the audience perceive?
That I'm reading, that we are reading.
No, they will perceive right to left, like the mirror reflection.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, which is why if you do right to left, the audience will perceive it as left to right. And why am I saying that? Because if you have a timeline in your story where you have a first story, you have a second story, you have a third story. In that case, your first story should start from the right. Second story should be in the middle. Third story should be in the right. Your left. And always, there's another rule of thumb. And the rule of thumb is when you are delivering your key message, if your messages don't give up, then while you're delivering your key message, that time don't move up. No movement during the key message. Stay silent, stay composed like a ninja, and then you deliver that message. Here is another tip when it comes to the eye contact with the audience. If you do a circular eye contact, then the people over here know that now you're not going to look at them. So you should always do a W. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So either you can make an M, you can make a W, whichever shape you want. But think about this. When you are speaking to the audience, you have to look into their eyes. Speak to that one person at a time. Don't speak to a bunch of people at a time. Speak to that one person. Pick up that one person in the audience. Speak to that person. 1, 2, 3. Then person number 2. 1, 2, 3. Person number 5. 1, 2, 3. Come to the front. 1, 2, 3. You also may have a possibility that someone is right here, just near your face. In that case, you can't look down on them. In that case, you can move left and then you can look at them and speak to them. But the point being, it's the eye contact. It is not the head contact. It's not the bunch contact. That never works. The eye contact makes that audience engagement much more effective. I would say 10 times more effective. So that's about the physical part of body language. Okay. Even in body language as well, you have gestures and postures. Gestures are, I'm drinking water. I was going towards there. Those are gestures. Postures is how you stand. If you are trying to be angry, are you going to be angry? If you want to be defiant, are you going to be defiant? If you want to be scared, will you be scared? So your body is going to speak that. So those are your postures. So look at your gestures and postures and how you can plan them out. If possible, if you have, let's say you have different characters, if you have a mother, if you have a mentor who is possibly in your script, in that case, try and have different voices for different people. That will also help you in doing that. Then we have the manner, which is direct assurance and enthusiasm. And for this, we come to an activity. For this, I would like to call upon Sakshi. Sakshi, please.
Yes, I'm right here.
Okay.
I'm right here.
I need you to give me 1 to 5 in the rising order, like 3, 4. Go.
I have to rate you?
No, rate me. You have to speak. You have to control your volume and go from 1 being the lowest and 5 being the highest. Show us your range of volume.
Okay. So when I went there, I found out.
No, not in sentences. Number 1, number 2.
Okay. All right. Hi.
No.
Hi.
1.
Hi.
That's better too. That's better too.
1. Okay. 1 being
the
hi.
lowest, 5 being the highest.
Okay. So I have to say the word and the number together.
Only the numbers.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah. So you have to use only 3, 4, and 5 when you're speaking.
Okay.
1 and 2, reserve them for your low points. When you are taking a pause, when you want the audience to think about something seriously, that's when your 1 and 2 comes out. Your speech and tone should be from 3, 4, and 5. So because in your club you don't have mic, so you have to speak with your fullest volume, not the fullest, but your best volume. If you speak at 5, that is screaming. They will be confused. Why is she screaming? If you use 3 and 4, that is a better and more confident voice. That's about the volume. And the voice of the flexibility is also where, that's really where the pacing of your story comes into picture. Let's say you are trying to chase a bus. So you can't say that I was looking at a bus, the bus came, I tried to run towards it, but as I was about to catch the handle, my leg slipped, I fell, the bus slipped. So you see what I did there? My pace was the same. When the bus was coming towards me, I can say the same thing as, hey, as I was running towards the bus, I was about to catch the handle and I missed the slip and I fell. The bus left. So in that case, my pacing increased because my story demanded that, which is also where you can plan your delivery. If you have an accident happening, if you have any dramatic incidents happening, your pacing has to go faster. That will help you a lot. So that's about.
I have a question, Aniket.
Sure.
So when you were saying this, so your your volume was probably at 3 or 4, but is it the gestures which made a difference?
The gestures, yeah, they do make a difference because depending on what kind of gestures you're making, what kind of pacing you are trying to carry, that will also control your voice.
But in the entire sentence, the level of the voice or the volume, it remained the same, or maybe a slight difference when you were chasing. Yeah. You
can change that voice. So which is why some of these rules are the rule of thumb that don't go 1 and 2. Speak the normal. At the same time, when your speech demands, when the situation is demanding, you can control your voice to show your emotions. If you are happy, if you are excited, if you are in a hurry, if you are afraid, then you can control your voice accordingly.
Okay. So we have to stick around to 3 and 4 because even if you're in a small room, 3 and 4 would help. And with a mic also 3 and 4 will not sound shrieky.
Yes, exactly. Yesterday in the contest, I think it was day before yesterday in the contest, there was someone who was shrieky, who was speaking so loud that it was being shrieky, and 3 evaluators spoke about that.
Correct.
I think
Yes.
he was using his 5 constantly. Okay, now we go to the appropriateness, the speech purpose, and to the audience, which means that if, let's say, I come with a cybersecurity background, I come to the speech and I start speaking cybersecurity language throughout. My story is very good, very technical, but the audience is still thinking, what's in it for me? I mean, I come from an arts background. I do finance every day. I have nothing to do with cybersecurity. Why should I listen to you? So, which is why when you are telling that point, as I mentioned earlier, 3 stories from your life for the audience, and 3 stories from the audience's perspective. How can they relate to that message in their lives? It's very important. It need not be a story, it could be a scenario, but I think that will help you with the appropriateness. And remember, this is coming in your language section, which means the way you use your words for this is important. The grammar, the punctuation, and the word selection, it's also like critical. I think I really don't need to explain this, but grammar basic, avoid grammar mistakes. Most of you do not do that. Remember those word of the days that you have been using in your club. I think this is the time you use those word of the days, but don't use them too much, because the audience doesn't care about fancy words. They care about the simple but yet effective words. And I think this is really it. This will be all the 10 contestants, and each of them will be given points here. The judges are going to do the tally here, and the judges will write the first, second, and third name and give this ballot to the tally counter. But important thing is, they have given detailed structure about how each of these will be used over here in the second page. Many of the contestants do not read this, which means what I can do is I will simply put this link in the chat box. And for anyone who is watching the recording, you can see that you can simply search for Toastmasters International Contest Ballot, and you will get the form. Where is my chat? Chat is here. And yeah, no, sorry, this is to Sachi. Okay, now the link is with everyone. You can download this, you can go through it. But most importantly, it's not just this one little nugget to help you. It's really your overall. Okay, now there's one more thing that comes about practice. Bhavna, how do you practice your speeches? Do you practice with your family, your friends, or alone in front of a mirror? How do you practice?
I try all the 3 mediums. Like I do it for the family, I eat up everybody's head, and then I do it alone as well. I have a personal studio of mine.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's good to have. Cool. Sakshi, what are your ideas on that?
I practice with my friend, and most of the time after having practiced with her, then I practice in front of the mirror.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, definitely. Because I think these are the sources, because the thing is, we are all Toastmasters. Toastmasters. So we all look at our speeches with our opening, the body, the closure, and sometimes we really get entangled into these technicalities that a fresh perspective from a non-Toastmaster can be really crucial. And I think that can be very, very unique. And each of our families know us. They know that when you are doing extra drama on the stage, they can spot it very easily. And I think that is very important. And the last point, record the speech every time you deliver, every instance. Please record, please. Because you don't know how it looked to the audience. The recording is the only way you can check. Now, how do we all have that mental state. Sometimes you feel you are on that high. Sometimes you are on that peak performance mode. How do you get to that? You should know your rhythm. If listening to a specific song gets you into that mood, maybe having your favorite food gets you into that zone, you should know yourself and maybe create a playlist and keep listening to it. And as you are waiting for the contest to start, some people like to be in the room. Some people go outside the room and wait when their turn is there. Then they come in. So you decide how you want to do it. don't eat too much before the contest. And that's a very basic but very important rule. And last night's sleep is also quite important. I remember when I was contesting at an area level contest 2016. At that time, I was awake until 3 a.m., 3 or 3:30, because of some work that had come. The next day, I had the contest and I was not on my full energy. I was low on energy. It was clearly visible on stage, and many people in the audience told me, "What happened to your energy today?" So, believe it or not, but this is a really basic rule of thumb. But get a good sleep and don't eat too much before the contest. It makes you drowsy, and keeping yourself hungry gets the best out of you, actually.
Wow.
I think record the speech for sure. I think, yeah, that's about it. All the tips.
Aniket, I have a question before you wind up.
Sure.
I wanted to ask about the vocabulary. How is that rated? Because we had someone the other day delivering the speech day before yesterday, and we heard that he was using a lot of words which were probably also not very clear to the audience.
Yeah.
So are we rated negatively there? Are we rated, how are we rated based on vocabulary?
Yeah. So I would say that don't look at, if you intentionally put fancy words into a speech, they don't fit very well. On the contrary, what you can do is, there are those key sections in your speech. Let's say your message, your opening, your conclusion. These are the points where you can look at that sentence and just think about it, think hard on how can I say it better? How can I say the same thing in different words? And then you try to find these different ways of saying the same thing. Intentionally don't go out looking for these words, because it looks unnatural. Audience, it finds it difficult, because you may be a very well-read person. You read one book every week. So your vocab is here, but audience says vocab is here. So what happens? For a Shashi Tharoor, you can show off to the audience, but the judges will not perceive it in a very good way, or the audience also would not.
So it has to be audience-centric when we prepare the speech.
Yeah.
Okay.
And shorter sentences with clearer words are better.
Okay.
So I think that's about it. All the tips that I had. We still have around 7 minutes. If you have any questions or anything that you want to discuss, we can do it now, or we can wrap up the call and I can give you your 7 minutes back.
I wanted to discuss my speech with you, but probably we'll do that once we're out of the call, or whenever you have time.
I think we can do that. Cool.
Okay.
All right, others. I have not heard anything from Brian. I have not also seen Brian. So Brian.
Hey, all is fine. I'm just listening. I'm just an audience right now.
Okay. Thank you. Cool.
Thank you.
Ashirbad, do you have your contest tomorrow? All okay?
Yeah, going good. I have a question for you. Your perspective. You practice your script till the last moment, till the last hour, or you stop your practice before some hour?
Okay, good question. Here is what I do, because each of us have our own methods. The way I remember my script is, I create a flow chart. A goes to B, then goes to C, then goes to E, then here, and then it concludes. So that's how I remember my speeches. But when it comes to practice, I practice them in separate stories. I practice story 1, I practice story 2, story 3. Then within that story, I will focus on body language, voice modulation, stage usage. I will plan how to do this. Anything special that I can do with this. Any boom factor, any X factor that I can do. So I would do it that way. I do my opening separately, conclusion separately, and body also different ways.
It didn't answer my question. My question was, do you practice till the contest time? For say your contest is 12 o'clock till 11:30, you practice, or you stop practicing from morning, or 3 hours or 6 hours before?
Okay. So that was a very specific question. Actually, from that point of view, I stop practicing about a couple of hours before, and then I get into my songs mode. I listen to my songs, and I just try to be hydrated, be ready for the contest. I keep looking at the script. I will draw that flow chart over and over again to make it crystal clear for me. And the opening, I practice the opening just like when the contest is like 1 hour from now. I'll practice just the opening because that impact has to come.
Yeah, that answered my question. Thank you.
Thank you. Cool. So, all right, everyone. Thanks a lot for joining
Hey,
today.
Aniket.
Yes, Ballot.
I just got confused.
Sure.
Because what I typically do is when I'm in the contest, even though there are other contestants presenting their speech, but while their 7 minutes are going on, in my head, my 7 minutes and my speech is going on.
Yeah.
Till the time I'm finally called. So I'm kind of practicing till the last minute.
Yeah.
So do you think that's not good enough?
No,
I should not do that.
Everyone has their process, and you should be good with your process, because what works for me may not work for you. What works for you may not work for me. So
Right.
that's why I said, when the speech contest is going on, are you listening to other speakers or only in your speech?
I'm always only in my speech.
Okay, because if you see, there is something called as referencing other speakers' speeches when you start. So, for example, let's say Tirumalesh comes on stage and he starts talking about an egg that can break from the inside or from the outside. Now, you have to start your speech, and in a way, you were about to give up in your story. You can say, "I was about to give up. That egg was about to break from the outside, but then I waited." So now you just referenced a speech being given by someone else. That means that you're listening to others as well. This is also a good technique that you can use. So I would say listen to others' speeches too. That will help you to do cross-referencing, and it gets a good laughter out of the audience. Although don't do it too much.
Okay.
Cool then. All right. So I think we have covered the questions from every one of you. So I thank all of you for joining, and I will be stopping